Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another short review roundup video on flying Wiener. Today we're talking about three things. Again, we're still playing catch up. We're still discussing things that I watched during the Spooktober, the horror season of October. So, I'm just trying to get these out with all these, short review roundups. Today we are talking about three things again. They are actually, all three of them Netflix productions. Now the first one is not, as the other two are, a series. The first one is actually a documentary film called Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, which is a very strange title, but I'll explain when we talk about that. The second thing I'm going to talk about is Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, which is a horror anthology series. And the last one I'm talking about is The Midnight Club, which is the newest series by Mike Flanagan, who, if you've been following the channel for a while, you will know I am a big fan of. Now that's the order I'm going to talk about them in. If you want to jump ahead to any of them, you can look down below. The bar at the bottom of the screen will, give you the sections so you can jump forward, or in the description you'll have the timestamps that you can click on if you want to skip ahead. Right, let's get stuck right into it. So, as I said, the first one is a documentary series. Sorry, it's a series. It's not just one film; it's a series as well. But yes, it's a documentary. It's called Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey. It is about the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is a huge mouthful. They are abbreviated to the FLDS, which is obviously a lot more handy to speak about. They are an offshoot of the Mormon faith. If you're not familiar with them at all, they had polygamy in their the faith and the lifestyle. So you had men with up to like 20 wives or something like that. And just generally the Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey is the mantra that is given to young girls and women. They should be obedient to the husbands and all this and that. And it starts off, I will say, as these things do, rather, not harmlessly, but it starts off rather easily. It's like, okay, they want to have polygamy as their lifestyle. Fine, to each their own and all these things. But as it continues, we see more and more that this whole thing turns more into a sect. And it really gets incredibly sad and depressing towards the end, especially when, as I said, this is also the mantra they give to girls, and then you discover all sorts of horrible things that were done with these girls. It is rather depressing. Now, I recently talked about All Quiet on the Western Front, which if you're interested in, I'll leave a link at the end of this video too. And that is a whole different type of depressing, with war, etc. This was really, really disturbing. It is definitely one of the most disturbing things that I have watched, documentary-wise. At the same time, just really crazy to think that all this was going on. So if you can stomach disturbing things happening and hearing about them happening, then definitely check this out. If you're interested in sects and all these things, how these groups of people, how they're created, what they do and all these things, this show will definitely be for you. I highly enjoyed it in the terms of, what it was presenting, the quality of it, but, the story, like I say, truly horrific. Second thing we're going to talk about is Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, which came out at the end of October, so obviously in time for Halloween they brought this out. It is a really interesting series. It's an anthology series, so basically every episode is its own self-contained story. We don't have a through line, something that is threading all of these together. Each episode is its own complete story. Guillermo del Toro actually co-wrote two of them, and he also acts as the curator, I'll call it. Each episode is actually introduced by him, so before we get into the story, he comes on and he gives us a short introduction for the story, and each episode is also directed by someone different. It's a really cool collection of stories, so we have all sorts of stuff, from all over the horror spectrum, whether it's aliens or body horror or zombies, I'll call it, animals, whatever, even down to eldritch terrors, and Lovecraft and all these kind of things. We've got all sorts here. Now, not every episode is amazing, I will say that. I didn't enjoy all of them on the same level. None of them are bad, I will say that. None of them are bad. I enjoyed them all, especially because the overall quality is great. We do have very interesting directors here who, you know, really give us something great to look at. So visually, all of the episodes are great. They had a high production value. You can see that as well. So quality-wise, it's all there. I do have two standout episodes though. The first of them is the fourth one, which is called The Outside. It is starring Kate Micucci. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's about a woman who's not happy with just her own appearance, you know, and all the her co-workers at the bank, they're all dolled up, and she wants to be one of them and be a part of the group. And so she goes to, she discovers this new hand lotion that they all use, and she discovers this new hand lotion, or it's a body lotion, sorry, not just a hand lotion, a whole full body lotion, and it changes her. That's all I'll say about it. I mean, it's a horror thing, you can imagine how these things go. It's a really, really strange episode, but it's really powerful because of her portrayal. We're focused on her all the time. It's not grand in scale, but it's a really great character piece in that sense. So that is a really good episode here. And the second one I'll mention is episode number 7. It's called The Viewing. And first and foremost, it's great because we've got Peter Weller here, who, if you're not familiar with the name, he was RoboCop. And he is great. He plays this really eccentric billionaire, I suppose he's supposed to be. He's just incredibly wealthy. And it's set in the, was it in the 80s? No, I'm not sure when it was set in, but I'm not sure of the time period. 70s, I think, 70s, 80s, something like that. Anyway, it's not happening today, it's happening back then. Same actually goes for the previous episode I mentioned, so that is also set in a past decade. And he gathers this group of people, and he's got this home that looks like, I don't know, it was built by aliens, and they've got music and all sorts of things. It is a bit trippy, the episode, but it's got a really cool vibe to it. Just how the lighting of it, then you've got the music that comes in, and so he's invited various people. You've got a scientist, you've got an author, you've got a musician, you know, you've got paranormal people, you know, people who deal with paranormal stuff, and he brings them all for the viewing. He's got something to show them, and they're going to expand their minds. They take a selection of different drugs to all get them on a certain level, and then he shows them the thing that they're there for. But up to that point, we've got all these discussions about, I don't know, just society and, I suppose, consciousness and all these things. The whole thing felt a bit trippy, but I really liked the whole vibe of it. It was really my favourite episode of the whole thing. Yeah, I really liked it. Less for the horror stuff, but the whole feel of the episode. Yeah, and you've got, besides Peter Weller, you've got other great actors in it as well. You've got Eric Andre in there, for instance. You've got, yeah, it's just a great ensemble cast. You've also got Charlene Yi in there, and you've got Sofia Boutella. So you've got interesting characters. It's like, you know, he's gathered all these different people with very, very different opinions together, and you know, and the whole time you're wondering what is the thing he's going to show them. And they're all, I suppose you could say that the reward was quite good for us in the end, what we got to see. But yeah, just a really, really cool vibe. So if you want to see a really trippy thing, you could even just watch that one episode. Like I say, it's all self-contained, and I just really enjoyed it a lot. The last thing we're going to talk about is The Midnight Club. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, it is Mike Flanagan's newest show on Netflix. He's got cooperated with them on many, many things. I like a lot of the stuff that he has done. Just recently, in October, I talked about Gerald's Game, which is based on a Stephen King novel. He made that film. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video so you can watch it. I really like that, and yeah, generally I've liked the stuff that he has done. This, I feel, to me, it wasn't quite as good as the other ones, especially Midnight Mass, which was the last series he did for Netflix. That was really, really good, and this felt a bit like a letdown, I will say that. Just to get into the story briefly, it is based on a novel, or I think a series of novels. Don't have that in my mind anymore. But we have this home, I'll call it, that is for young kids, teenagers that have got terminal illnesses, and this is how we come into the story. We are focused on a character called Ilonka. She is played by Iman Benson, and she has thyroid cancer, and she hears about this home. She also hears about this mystery story, you know, that somebody was there with thyroid cancer and actually was able to cure it. There's something, you know, special there that could cure it, and that's her incentive to go there. She meets other kids there that have also got terminal illnesses, and the name itself derived from the fact that they all have their routines there, their schedules that they do, and after lights out they all come together at midnight and they tell each other ghost stories. And so that is the basic story. So we've got this group of kids with their terminal illnesses and how they deal with it, and then we have the ghost stories that they tell each other. And that is mainly where the horror comes from, these ghost stories. Now, I liked all and this is what he does so well, Mike Flanagan, the emotional stuff in it, the character stuff in it. All these characters are really interesting and you like the dialogues. It wasn't quite as good as others previously, but it's still very enjoyable and I like it for it. I did not care about all the horror stuff in it. It wasn't really scary and made me question why it was even necessary to have it in there. You know, you could have just had the character stuff and it would have been a really interesting thing. Now, I believe I saw a lot of comments of people saying there might be a second series or so, and he's trying to build towards that. I mean, I hope that's better, but all I've seen up till now was just okay, I'll say, you know. It is great for the actors. I mean, I've already mentioned Iman Benson, and you've also got Igby Rigney. He plays a guy called Kevin. He has got leukemia, and he is, you know, he befriends Ilonka and helps her along, you know, find her place and everything. And then you've got Ruth Codd, who plays Anya, and she's very antagonistic. She's not happy. She's dealing badly with her situation, with her terminal illness, and so she butts heads with Ilonka quite a lot. But she is probably the best performance in the whole thing. Really quite outstanding, the stuff that you see from her. So yeah, it's a bit, like I say, a bit of a mixed bag, that one. I'd say watch it for the character stuff, but don't expect big horror. Like I said, maybe in a second series, who knows. Okay, that'll be all from me today in this Roundup video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about any of the things I discussed, you know, your opinions on them. Have you got similar recommendations? Have you seen them? How did you like them? I'll leave two links up here, as I mentioned previously. One of them will be to All Quiet on the Western Front, which I mentioned, and the second one will be to Gerald's Game. Click any of them if you want to hear my review of those. I'll thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care.